Hello all, this is Sushma D, working as Assistant Professor of English at Government First Grade College of Arts, Science and Commerce, Shira. In today's session, let us start analyzing the poem Invocation written by P.B. Shelley. Before we start analyzing the poem, let us have a quick recap of the previous session. Invocation is written by P.B. Shelley. He is a most controversial romantic poet and his period is 1792 to 1822. He was a dreamer and he dreamt of a new society and led a ceaseless war against the existing political, social and economic institutions. We also discussed pertaining to the structure and theme of the poem. Invocation is a lyrical poem. Like many other lyrical poems of Shelley, this poem has a complaint. The poet feels that the spirit of delight has desolated him. He therefore appeals to it to come back to him and make him happy. An appeal of this kind is generally known as invocation. We also discussed various literary devices employed in the poem. The literary devices used in the poem are simile, anaphora, lexical repetitions, and personification. And in the forthcoming slides of the poem, you can easily identify a simile if the letters are typed by using yellow color. And in the same way, if the letters are typed in red, then you can easily identify the figure of speech used over there is anaphora. Lexical repetitions are typed by using green color and personification is typed by using yellow color. So please remember these colors. Yellow stands for simile, red stands for anaphora, green stands for lexical repetitions, and blue stands for personification. Okay, fine. Then without wasting much of our time, let us start analyzing this beautiful poem, Invocation, written by P.B. Shelley. Rarely, rarely comest thou, spirit of delight. Wherefore hast thou left me now many a day and night? Many a weary night and day it is since thou art fled away. The poem begins with a complaint that the spirit of delight visits the poet very rarely. Ever since the spirit of delight became indifferent to him, he has been feeling sick and weary. He wants to know how can he attract the spirit of delight towards him. By stating thus, the poet personifies the spirit of delight in the first stanza by addressing the spirit of delight which actually visits him very rarely. How shall ever one like me win thee back again with the joyous and the free? Thou wilt scoff at pain, spirit false, thou hast forgot all but those who need thee not. In the second stanza, he asks how unhappy man like him can win and regain the spirit of delight. What should he do to attract the spirit? It is the habit of spirit of delight to stay with joyous and free people and to mock at those who are in distress and trouble. Instead of sympathizing with such unfortunate individuals, the spirit of delight treats them scornfully. Thus, he calls it as a faithless spirit which favors those who are already happy. As a lizard with the shade of a trembling leaf, thou with sorrow art dismayed, even the sighs of grief reproach thee, that thou art not near, and reproach thou wilt not hear. Here, the poet, by employing realistic simile, states that the spirit of delight avoids a man who is sad and despondent, just like the lizard, which tries to avoid the trembling shadow of a moving leaf. Even the sighs of a sorrowful man produce no sympathy in the spirit of delight. His sighs are a kind of rebuke to the spirit of delight, but rebukes and complaints have no effect upon the spirit of delight, which means the spirit of delight comes only to those who are happy, not to those who are sad. Let me set my mournful ditty to a merry measure. Thou wilt never come for pity, thou wilt come for pleasure. Pity then will cut away those cruel wings, and thou wilt stay. Thus, instead of singing a mournful song, the poet decides to sing happy songs. Because so far he has been complaining and singing sadly. But the spirit of delight feels no pity for a sorrowful man and therefore avoids him. Accordingly, to attract the spirit of delight, the poet makes up his mind to put himself in a joyful mood and sing happy songs. Seeing him in that mood, the spirit of delight will surely come to him. Once it comes to him, it will sympathize the poet and it may decide to stay on with the poet in order to lighten his misery. In the next 3 stanzas, the poet says that he loves all those which are dear to the spirit of delight. I love all that thou lovest, spirit of delight, the fresh earth in new leaves dressed, and the starry night, autumn evening, and the morn when the golden mists are born. I love snow and all the forms of the radiant frost. I love waves and winds and storms, everything almost which is nature's and may be untamed by man's misery. I love tranquil solitude and such society as is quiet, wise and good. Between thee and me, what difference? But thou dost possess the thing I seek, not love them less. Here, the poet states that he loves all those which are very dear to the spirit of delight. He loves the fresh earth in spring, the starry night, an autumn evening, and a misty morning. He loves snow and all forms of radiant frost, and waves, and winds, and storms. He almost loves everything in nature. He even loves the tranquil solitude, and he loves the company of quiet, wise, and good people. Thus, expressing his deep love for nature, the poet loves all aspects of nature which are untouched by human sufferings. The spirit of delight too loves all these things while he does not possess them. Human life is full of sorrow and grief. Nature is, however, free from all those misfortunes which are affected by mankind. Since the poet is an ardent lover of nature and all its aspects, there should be no difference between him and the spirit of delight. But a difference does exist, even though the poet loves all the things which the spirit of delight loves, he has not been able to possess them. In other words, these objects of nature have not provided him with happiness which he seeks. I love, though he has wings, and like light can flee, but above all other things, Spirit, I love thee, thou art love and life. O come, make once more my heart thy home. He finally concludes the poem by stating that he loves the God of love, which means he is fond of love. Love is something which he desires. He loves love even though love is a winged being and flies away as fast as light can travel. The poet here means that love is not something permanent. Love is no doubt something delightful and enjoyable, but it does not stay in the human heart for long. But above all, he says that he loves the spirit of delight, and to him it is love and life. Thus, he appeals to the spirit of delight to visit him and make his heart its home and stay ever with him. I hope that you have understood the essence of the poem Invocation written by P.B. Shelley. Thank you all.